All right, peace, Moors. Happy Holy Day. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Please stand with your feet on the 45-degree angle facing the east. Right? Stand facing the east, feet on the 45-degree angle. Stand up straight, upright position. If you're able to, 90-degree angle. 2 fingers on the right and 5 on the left. And repeat after me. Allah.
Allah.
The Father of the universe.
Father.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Truth.
Peace.
Peace.
Freedom.
Freedom.
And justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
And my salvation.
And my salvation.
By night and by day.
By night and by day.
Through his holy prophet.
Through his holy prophet.
Drew Ali.
Drew Ali.
Amen.
Amen.
Islam, Islamism. Right. Want to announce that this meeting is now open. All right. As always, we always give the highest praise to the Most High, our Father God Allah. Give honors to our divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, for bringing us our divine creed and nationality so that we may learn to love instead of hate. We also give honors to the prophet's forerunner, our brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey, for preparing the way for purity and love. We give honors to the charter and its 10 wonders. Also give honors to the Moorish and the American flags. We give honors to all the 8-up sheiks and all the faithful Moors that make up the grand body of the Moorish divine and national movement. Also give honors to our first appointed Supreme Grand Sheik, and that's our brother Emili Il. We give honors to our current Supreme Grand Sheik as well, our brother K. Dandrigel. Honors to the Grand Council of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and honors to all the faithful Muslims on this call. Islam, Islam, Islamism. All right, we'll be reading the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Hang on. Salvation, Allah, Unity, the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2, all meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday, the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday, the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or falsely accuse his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4, all members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and parcel of the government and must live life accordingly. Act 5, this organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of said government, but to obey hereby. Right. And Act 6, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and a partial of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. All members must promptly attend their meetings. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a partial of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father God Allah. Noble Drew Ali, founder, Moorish American Prayer. Allah, the father of the universe, the father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Moorish Science Temple of America, home office of Noble Drew Ali, home office, Chicago, Illinois, U.S.A. Islamism. Before we move forward, I do want to just go back over this Constitution. And just off the top of the head, let's build on what these acts mean, how they apply to us in a practical way right now, here and now, in 2021 or whatever this year is. Okay? So just going into Act 1. Right, Act 1, the Grand Sheikh and the chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the grand body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. So for anyone that's unaware of what the grand body is, there may be some confusion about that, but it's referring to the grand governors. And each state should have grand governor or regions. Maybe a grand governor will be over 2 regions, say if it's something like North Dakota or somewhere where there's not a lot of Asiatics. So the grand governor in the nearby state may be over that, okay? But then you also have grand sheiks in each temple. And so some states may have several temples. Some cities may have several temples. And so this is the grand body, right? Because on the national scale, you have the Grand Sheikh and chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America, as it says, is empowered to make and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet. The Prophet wrote the laws for us. So we have the guidelines. And then the grand body is here to assist in that process on the national scale, but then also on the local scale. The Grand Sheikh is empowered to make and enforce laws with the assistance of the assistant Grand Sheikh in each temple, in each region. So the Sheikh is like the chief for each tribe. And on the macrocosm, right, or on a smaller, I wouldn't even say larger or small, on the local scale, the local chief, the Sheikh, this word's phonetically connected, is making laws with the assistance of the assistant Grand Sheikh for each temple, for each community, because each temple is supposed to branch out into a community. Communities should be built around each temple. And then at the national scale, you have the Grand Sheikh and chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America for all of the temples. And they're working in conjunction with the grand governors for each state or each level to make and enforce laws at the national scale for the entire movement. All right. And if there's any questions, just feel free to speak up. And then Act 2, All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. This is bringing us back into the ways of civilization, right? Friday is our holy day of rest, because on Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on Friday the first man departed out of the flesh and ascended unto his Father, God Allah. For that cause, Friday is a holy day for Muslims all over the world. Muslims all over the world don't really know why they're doing this on a Friday, right? If you're looking at it from a dogmatic point of view, you would just get the wording that the prophet's given us. But the prophet's an Egyptian adept, so there's hidden meaning behind the words. The Friday is the holy day. The Friday is the 6th day, right? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So Friday is the 6th day. That's our holy day. And as you can see from the diagram on the screen, for those who's not watching the screen, this is the Kabbalah tree of life. This is universal, even though this Kabbalah, like on the right side where you have the snake, you see the letters in Hebrew. Okay, that's from a Hebrew esoteric perspective. But this is something you had the Kabbalah, you had the tree of life in ancient Egypt. You had it in several ancient cultures. So this is actually ancient wisdom that has been preserved for our people that we still have on this earth. So this is ancient wisdom that's been passed down and translated into different cultures. So on this diagram, you have 10 spears. At the top, it says Kepher, and then at the bottom, it says Malkuth. The top, you're getting closer to the spirit realm. All right, remember, spirit man is Allah in you. That's Allah in man. All right, and real quick, let me pause. For the person that says Moto G, is this brother Van Norsby Bay from Arizona? If yes, just state yes, or type that in the chat. You don't have to say who you are. If not, please let us know. You can unmute, or you can just type in the chat who you are and where you're calling from. And also share your email or phone number. All right, and I ask that you do that because if not, we're gonna have to place you in the waiting room, and you won't be able to come back in until you share that information. Okay, so going back into this. Okay, so there's 10 spears. The Kepher at the top, you're getting closer to the spirit realm. And then as you descend, you're getting into the soul plane, the soul realm. And then you're getting closer and denser into the physical realm, where finally at Malkuth, that's the root. That's the physical earth, the physical realm. Okay, so the reason I'm bringing this up is because you have 10 spears, Kepher. I'm not going to name all of these, but going down to Tefereth, the 6th spear, which is in the middle, that's the 6th day. This 6th spear, from the perspective of the tree of life, the 6th spear is where man is. Not speaking about gender, just, you know, men and women. That's where we are in the Tefereth. And that right there is in the middle. It's also it's partially in the physical world, but partially of the higher planes, the spirit and the soul planes. All right. In our Quran, it says that man is truth and falsehood strangely mixed. Falsehood being the physical realm. And it's not false because, oh, it's fake, this world doesn't matter. It's falsehood because it will pass away. It's temporary. It's a reflection of what's occurring in the soul plane and what's occurring in the spirit realm. Right? We don't really think about it like that, but it's a reflection. Okay? And so the 6th spear is the 6th day where man was formed in the flesh. All right? That's it. And so there's ancient wisdom in that, and that's why the prophet, the Egyptian adept, brought this wisdom to us, and that's why we hold to that on the holy day. We don't just toss that out and no, I don't have to do this. No, we do have to do this. We have ancient customs that have been returned to us, that by holding to this, we fall into our divine covenant with the creator of the universe. We didn't have these customs, right? We were just running around doing whatever. We were just winging it. So they've been returned to us to help bring us, not only to bring us back into the fold of humanity, because when we got marked as Negroes, we were stripped of our humanity. So not only does this bring us back into the fold, but it places us at the top. And not saying that to down anyone, don't get it twisted. We still have to work and do everything just like everyone else, but this places us at the head. And we're already the head and don't realize it. That's why in our lower state, we still influence people all over the world, copy us, and we're not necessarily copying them. Okay. And I say that tongue in cheek because we do kind of copy European folks. But for the most part, we influence the world, even our lower state. The prophet's bringing us back into the fold and also preparing us to be made the head, the leaders. And one of the things we have to do is pick ourselves up. So we have ancient customs that have been returned to us. That Friday, the holy day of rest, is deep and it's real. It's not just reading into it too much. No, this is real. All right. So going on to Act 3, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No members to put in danger or falsely accuse his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. So even if all of our people aren't going to get on board, okay, in the state that we're at now, they're not. They're just not ready. I mean, it's not my decision. It is what it is. They're not ready. And so it doesn't matter. Those of us who are aware of this, we have an extra burden now, because with power comes more responsibility. So we can't act like savages. We have to hold ourselves to higher principles. We have the highest principles known to man: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And they must be practiced and not just proclaimed, because that just means announcing it. Now we have to practice it 24/7, actually work on living off of these principles, making it a lifestyle, not putting each other in danger, not falsely accusing, living off of these principles, doing business off of these principles, showing by example, leading the way. And by us doing that, eventually that will wake others up and make others who weren't even thinking about this want to get on board when they see us in our highest height. Act 4, all members must preserve these holy and divine laws, but in order to preserve them, we have to know them. All members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and partial of the government and must live the life accordingly. And that can be seen two ways. Why? Because on one hand, you live in a state. Each state has a government and has laws, and you must obey them, right? You should abide by the laws. You shouldn't be out here breaking the laws. But on the other hand, we have our own government. All right? And so we must preserve these holy and divine laws. We have to not forget that these were given to us. These were delivered to us by God. If they're emanating from the prophet Noble Drew Ali, they're emanating from God, because as a prophet, he has to deliver the word. He can't just put his own take on it. So they're divine. That's why they're divine. That's why this is a divine constitution. And by getting in accordance with it, of course, your prosperity, your success is assured. When we're not in accordance with it, that's when things come into play. When we get into trouble, that's when things happen, right? So we have to abide by our laws as well. And then by abiding by our laws, you won't be in advertence with any of your laws in your state where you live, right? And then if there's something that conflicts with our laws, guess what? Our laws will trump that. Why? Because say they do something unconstitutional and crazy. They're trying to force vaccinations on everyone. They can't do that to us. It goes against our laws. It goes against our principles. and then we can pull out our own Quran and show why that goes against our principles. But you can't do that if you don't even know it. You can't stand on it if you don't know it. You'll be reaching and grabbing here and there, trying to pull up things to do. It's like, no, we can stand on this. Even the Quran, it's just it's a little pamphlet. It's not even a pamphlet, whatever. It's not even that big, that many pages, but you can stand on that, and it's good enough for the entire world. Anything that comes up, we can stand on it. All right, and then you can also stand on the Quran of Mecca, because we're Muslims. All right, but it's important. So we must act in accordance with our laws, because we have our own government. This organization is not of the Moorish Science Temple of America, is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. All right. So it can't be misconstrued as some terrorist organization, even though, like, I think it's through the acts of sedition. Maybe I'm mistaken, but you can't form a nation like a foreign country within the United States of America. All right. It would be seen as an act of war. How is the prophet able to do this? Right. So in order to do this, you must come within the confines of the Moorish Science Temple of America. You must proclaim your nationality, become an active member, because being a member is synonymous to being a citizen. Learn and understand what this means, because the way that he moved, how did he did this, no one else can do this. Like, literally, we have our own nation, our own government. And no, ultimately, we're not here to cause confusion. We're not trying to overthrow the laws of, any of the state governments, anything like that. We're not here to do that. We don't have to, because ultimately it's all ours. Right? We know our ancient dominions, North, South, Central America, and the Atlantis Islands. That includes the Caribbean, all of that. Right? And ultimately, we know what allegedly the prophet said, regardless of how things look, it's going to wind up back in the Asiatics' hands. So that means even right now, if you're looking at what's going on in the news right now, it's crazy. I mean, there's no telling what's going to happen, right? But it doesn't matter. It's coming back to our hands. All we have to do is get back in accordance with our divine laws. By doing this, you are returning to the ways of your ancient forefathers, who were the creators of civilization. All right, Act 6, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and a partial of this said government, right? Speaking about our government. So people have to proclaim within the temple, proclaim, and we're teaching as well, because like this has been hidden from us. And know that you are part and partial of this said government, our government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779, is where they start black people at. Slavery lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. This is a new era of time now. All men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. So it doesn't matter where we go. We can't run away from this. I'm not telling people don't travel and get out and go to other countries, but, running away, trying to move, none of these things are going to fix it. Right? Because at the end of the day, your people have been declared undesirables. And if you know this now, you have to do something about it. All right. So we've been reconnected to our ancestry. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. All right. And then even from our perspective, the dominions were it's expansive, even further than what is the confines of modern day Africa, because our ancestors have been here since before the continent split apart, when this was Africa. Act 7, All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a partial of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Why do you think that's in there? Right? We must promptly attend our meetings, become a part and partial of all uplifting acts. So the uplifting acts, even just with the block vote, right? This is something that's coming down from the Supreme Grand Sheik to all the temples. Find out how many people will seriously participate in the block vote. How many numbers do we have? Right? So this is an uplifting act. Why? Because by exercising the block vote, say we have 10,000 people. All right. You can affect local elections with 10,000 people. That's something. Okay. And then as you get more people, you have even more weight. Right? This is a game that a lot of our people are not playing. They probably, okay, most of our people aren't playing. They're just not playing that. They're playing the emotional game with, oh, we vote Democrat because everyone else is racist. Or, just they're playing like children. And instead of negotiating in exchange for power, like everyone else does. All right. So this is how we move. And that's one of the first uplifting acts. So it's like, okay, we all must participate in this, because if we don't all do it, then we just like we were before we knew about this stuff, right? Most of our people don't do it. Some people go out and vote. Voting doesn't mean anything if you're not following it up with, demanding something in exchange for your vote, having a committee to go after the people that you put in these positions, making sure that they know that they're your servants, they're public servants, they work for you. Like, we put you here and we'll put our own candidate in if you're not going to do what you're supposed to. Right? So this is like the uplifting acts. We have to be doing all of these things, and not saying that everybody has to do it, but we all have to participate. If your part in that is to vote, because you're not really going to be organizing and doing all that stuff, well, then do your part, vote. And then if you're like, have some type of expertise or experience in these other areas, volunteer it to help. Why? Because if the help is coming from outside of our society, they're going to want something in exchange for that. Just like that leads into the next thing. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Why is that in there? Because, religious organization, we can get money, right? We should be able to get money. But the thing is, like, say we're getting donations. People want something in exchange for that. They want influence. They want things. In Malcolm X's biography, way back when in the 60s, he was writing about the NAACP, and he was mad because he said that the building that they're in is owned by Jews. Like, they work for them. These are their landlords. These are the people who are paying them. He's like, they're compromised. He was saying this way back then. And so if that's the case, like, if we're in a building that's owned by somebody else and we're getting this donated to us and all these things, guess what? They own you. So the prophet then and now, we must pay dues. And then if we're able to get money from other sources or raise money or have businesses or whatever, generating finances, no strings attached, cool. Because we have our own goals. We're not here to serve the interests of others who aren't looking out for our own good. So this is why we do our part. Yeah, we pay our dues. And then they're not too much. It's not, it's also only if you're working and able. But then also that they're not too much. It's not supposed to be taxing on you, right? And husband, you must support your wife and children. Obviously, that's the ideal case, right? Excuse me, did Moto G, did he or she say who they were? All right. So obviously that would be the ideal, if you create children and support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children, look after the duties of your household. That wording may turn some people off, hearing that wife, you must obey your husband. Why don't they say the husband should obey the wife? Well, you got to think about our society, our community. It's out of balance right now. The man should be the head. He should be the leader. Um, Not knocking women. Women are amazing and wonderful, but the way that things are set up right now, we have a lot of households where there's either no man or the men are in a subservient position. They're not in charge. And that's not how we can be successful. Like, we're not trying to put our women out on the front line here. Y'all, come on, save us. Y'all fight this war for us while we're hiding in the back. That's not going to work. We have to be on the front line dealing with all of these other people, just like every other nation does. They put their men out there out front. It's not like women don't have influence, telling us what to do. Just saying, the men are serving their part, and we have to be leading the way. If we're not, we're gonna keep experiencing the same positions that are same falling for the same traps that we're falling for. That's also why there was a real heavy effort, I guess you could say, starting in the 60s and 70s to remove the man from the household. Not for everyone, but specifically for us, aiming at us, the indigenous people of the Americas. Okay? They actually put out a movie in the 70s, I think, with Diane Carroll, where they were promoting this whole thing that she can stay in free housing if there's no man in the house. And so every time they came to inspect the house, the man would have to go and hide. Like, that's not a leader. He's got to hide so you can scheme and get free houses. So this is what they pushed in our heads. And then they hit us with the crack epidemic and did all this just to remove the man and to take him out of that position. So the prophet is getting us in the mindset to get out of that. We don't want to follow behind that. That's what they did to trap us. We have to stop thinking like that. So it's very important. And then all Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father, God Allah. So by doing this, we fall into a divine covenant. Extremely important. In Islam, Brother Jackson Bey, get rid of the man. And guess who now? White daddy, right? The European, he's supporting the wife and the children. Okay, yeah, I'll take care of them. Y'all can stay in the projects. We give you some food stamps. You can get some, not knocking this for anyone, you need it if it's actually helping. I'm just saying, they're like, okay, we'll take care of you. You don't need him. He's useless. He's worthless anyway, right? We're locking him up in prison. We're getting rid of him. You don't need him. We'll give you free housing. We'll give you some little bit of money, little bit. You have to be at the poverty level to get it. We'll give you a little bit, and we'll give you some food stamps, and we'll give you some health care and stuff like that. You don't need that man, right? And now, the end result of that is, a terrible situation. And then it produces more people that are gonna more than likely keep that situation going forward into the future, and we definitely don't want that. So we have to end that. That has nothing to do with being Moorish, as you can see. We are to be going in the opposite direction. Okay, the thing that they would tell you is, like, the way that I'm speaking, they would say, "Oh, that's old fashioned. That's archaic," and it's like, come on, we don't need to follow behind the Europeans, man. If that's what they think, if that's how they think things are supposed to be, it's only to our detriment. So we have to go away from all of that. One other thing too, just want to read some of the words of the prophet. Hang on. Or some words from Moorish literature. Hang on. Okay, yeah, this is just entitled The Moorish Science Temple of America. The Moorish Science Temple of America was founded by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Aside from the fact that it is a legally organized religious corporation, it is building on human needs to this desirable end, In time, legitimate means will be found to dispense charity and provide for the mutual assistance of its members in times of distress, to aid in the improvement of health, and to encourage the ownership of better homes, right? To find employment for our members, to teach those fundamental principles which are desired for our civilization, such as obedience to law, respect, and loyalty to government, tolerance, and unity. So for anyone who's new to this, is wondering like, what is this about? Is this just like church? The temple is supposed to be opening businesses and creating jobs for its own people, actually advocating for the things that we need. Obviously, there's a problem with our people being targeted and even killed, just killed in cold blood. There was a boy who was like 13 or 12 who was killed in Akron. Tamir Rice. He was playing outside with a BB gun. And like, if it was a, European boy with a BB gun, there's no way the police would have pulled up and just killed him. This because you have Europeans who literally go into schools and kill people. And they come out with their guns and don't get killed. They get arrested. So that was like blatant. But as the temple, we're to advocate for the things that we need to protect ourselves, right? Obviously, whoever is the sheriff of that area, that county, why is he even still in position? Right? Like, the sheriff has to be reelected. Like, why is he in that position? Why wasn't there push to, at least, because I'm sure Akron, I don't know the statistics, but I'm sure there's a large amount of Asiatic people there. Why wasn't there push for that, right? Black Lives Matters is not even from us or by us. They get people to march, but they don't push for anything that's going to actually get any results. Why weren't they pushing, saying, okay, everybody, all the Asiatics, let's put our own candidate out, or let's do this? No. So the temple actually does these things. This is what it's supposed to do for the community, to actually take care of our needs, right? Obviously, there's a problem with the food. There's a problem with the water. Everything that they're doing, they're poisoning everything. We need our own. So the temple is supposed to move to take care of all of these things. It's not the same as church. I don't say that to downgrade the church. I'm sure there's some churches that are working and trying to do some good, but you can have church in the middle of a neighborhood that's drug infested and they're not doing anything to improve that situation. So the temple ideally is supposed to be different than that. In its most and then it's to find employment for our members, to teach those fundamental principles which are desired for our civilizations, such as obedience to law, respect and loyalty to government, tolerance, and unity. Okay, so we're not anti-government. We're not out here preaching anarchy and all this stuff, because we're the creators of civilization. And eventually we will be at the head of all of this. It is most earnestly hoped that the Moorish Science Temple of America will not in any way be confused with any back to Africa movement. Such is not important insofar as American citizens of our group colonizing Africa are concerned. Why would that even be in there? Because a lot of the members who were coming into the temple were coming from Marcus Garvey's movement.
Yeah.
Letting it be known, we're not worried about that. We're not concerned with, oh yeah, to this brother that's talking right now that says Moto G, we need you to state your name, location, and in the chat, share your email or phone number. I'm gonna go ahead and mute you. I need you to put that in the chat. And if that brother doesn't share it, we're just gonna have to take him out of the room. Islam. So he had to let it be known we're not worried about going back to Africa. That's not important. As it says in here, such is not important insofar as American citizens of our group colonizing Africa are concerned. We're about building up what we have right here. America, from the perspective of the mystical Freemasons and Rosicrucians, this is ancient Atlantis. Atlantis is rising again through America. And what they won't tell you is that it's rising through us, because we are the ancients. Okay. and some of them can pretend to be us. Okay, they can pretend, they can wear our headdress, they can use our symbols, right? Shriners of Muslim sons. They can pretend to be us, but it's not working. It's not rising through them. It's rising through us. So we don't have to go back to Africa or back to anywhere. We are from right here. And this is the land of milk and honey. We of the Moorish Science Temple of America, like countless other American citizens, know that we must live together here in America in harmony, friendship, and goodwill, whatever our race and creed may be. So if we're out here like talking bad about Europeans and stuff, we're sounding stupid. We're supposed to stand on the higher principles. Okay? You open yourself up to attack easily by taking that stance. Right? Because if you truly descend from the creators of civilization, you know that you don't have to put other people down. Right? And then also, if you're taking that stance, it can easily be attacked, just like if someone else was doing it. Right? We stand on love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So we know that we need to live in harmony, friendship, and goodwill, whatever our race and creed may be. That doesn't mean we all need to live together. We still, more than likely, we need to have our own communities, just like we need to be growing our own food. Okay? But that doesn't mean that we're here to hate on anyone else. And it is only from a purely religious standpoint, it seems at this time that we differ from a large number of our fellow Americans. We believe in and foster the Muslim religion. We believe in the principles of its teachings insofar they can be adapted to American life. We feel that the Christian religion is all right for those who prefer it. So we're not here to talk bad about Christians or anyone else. In America, religious freedom is guaranteed to all under the Constitution. All right. And if you look at some other ancient Moorish societies, just like what was going on in Spain, people were able to practice their own beliefs, their own religions freely without persecution. Education was pristine. It was clean. The technology was advanced, and it was amazing. And it was like this for the empire lasted for 800 years, but it was like at its height for like 600 years. Okay? And so this is how we live. We don't have to force our beliefs on anyone. We are interested in freeing ourselves and our children from the greatest plight, economic slavery. We believe this can be done by encouraging, patronizing, and establishing our own business enterprises and cultivating our own acres of land. So yes, we need to have our own businesses and cultivate our own land, grow our own food. We welcome into our folds men and women of our groups of all sections, all trades, occupations, and professions of sound mind and good character. We are friends and servants of humanity. We are dedicated to the purpose of uplifting the moral, social, and economic status of our people. Right? Not just spiritual. All of this. We have set about to do this through a wide and comprehensive program embodying the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So I'm going to end on that note. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. So it's not just about the spiritual needs. We're going to talk about the spirituality because we also understand that we have a duty to work to subdue our lower self. Why? Because every time you further subdue your lower self, you further unveil what? Allah in you. All right. And you can't oppress God. You can't oppress God, man, or whatever you would call it when you are connected, unified with your higher self. And that's as we go into chapter 42, holy instructions from the prophet, weakness. All right, this is why we do this, because every time we further subdue the lower self, we recognize how the lower self rears its head, how it approaches us, because it's hard, because the thoughts, the sound, if you actually hear a voice in your head, it's your voice. The thoughts that you have, they're your thoughts. You don't realize that that's really your animal self, your lower self. Okay, so that's what we're working on. And if we understand this and know this, then we can't fall for the traps. They always need us to turn ourselves in. We always need to be the ones to bring ourselves down. They can't really do it to us. We have to do it to ourselves. And it's always like that. Right? So yes, Islam, we have a divine and a national movement. And that's the divine part, Islam. All right. So as we go into chapter 42, that's on starting on page 52 in the Holy Quran. And just remember these chapters that we've been going over, 36 through 44, dealing with knowledge of self. All right, for the most part. All right, and chapter 42, verse 1, vain and inconstant as thou art, O child of imperfection. How canst thou be weak? Is it not inconstancy connected with frailty? Can there be vanity without infirmity? Avoid the danger of the one, and thou shalt escape the mischiefs of the other. Right? Wherein art thou most weak? In that wherein thou seemest most strong, in that wherein most thou glorieth, even in possessing the things which thou hast, in using the good that is about thee. Art not thy desires also frail? Or knowest thou even what it is thou wouldest wish, when thou hast obtained what most thou soughtest after? Behold, it contenteth thee not. Right? We're never really satisfied. Wherefore loseth the pleasure that is before thee its relish, and why appeareth that which is yet to come the sweeter? Right? We're never content. Be thou art wearied with the good of this, because thou knoweth not the evil of that which is not with thee. Know that to be content is to be happy. All right. And that's actually a simple secret, just to happiness, period, being content. Couldst thou choose for thyself, would thy creator lay before thee all that thy heart could ask for? What happiness then remain with thee? Or would joy always dwell at thy gates, even if you did get everything that you desired, right? Is that really going to make anybody happy? No. That's part of being in the physical realm, right? Never really satisfied. And so the contentment, the happiness must always come from within. And so you always have that ability. You don't have to be happy when you get something. We'll be happy when I get there. Right now, that's backwards. It has to happen first. Alas, thy weakness forbiddeth it, thy infirmity declareth against it. Variety is to thee in the place of pleasure, but that which permanently delighteth must be permanent. Right? So people always want something new, something different, variety. But true contentment must come from within, true happiness. When that is gone, thou repenteth the loss of it, though while it was with thee, thou despiseth it. That which succeedeth it hath no more pleasure to thee, and thou afterwards quarreleth with thyself for preferring it. Behold, the only circumstance in which thou rest not. Is there anything in which thy weakness appeareth more than in desiring things? It is in the possessing, and in the using of them. Good things cease to be good in our enjoyment of them. Motion detected in the backyard. What nature meant pure sweets are sources of bitterness to us. From our delights arise pain, from our joy sorrow. All right, even too you can have too much of whatever it is that you desire, too much of a good thing. Be moderate in the enjoyment, and it shall remain in thy possession. Let thy joy be founded on reason, and to its end shall sorrow be a stranger. The delights of love are ushered in by sighs, and they terminate in languishment and dejection. The objects thou burneth for nauseates with satiety, and no sooner hast thou possessed it, but thou art weary of his presence. Join esteem to thy admiration, unite friendship with the love. So shalt thou find in the end content so absolute that it surpasseth raptures, tranquility more worth than ecstasy. Allah hath given thee no good without its admixture of evil, but he hath also given thee the means of throwing off the evil from it. As joy is not without its alloy of pain, so neither is sorrow without its portion of pleasure. And joy and grief, though unlike, are united. Our own choice only can give them to us entirely. Excuse me. Um, Melancholy itself often giveth delight, and the extremity of joys are mingled with tears. The best things in the hands of a fool may be turned to his destruction, and out of the worst, the wise will find means of good. So so blended its is weakness in thy nature, O man, that thou hast no strength either to be good nor to be evil entirely. Rejoice that thou canst not excel in evil, and let the good that is within thy reach content thee. And the virtues are allotted to various stations. Seek not after impossibilities, nor grieve that thou canst not possess them all. Wouldst thou at once have the liberality of the rich and the contentment of the poor? Shall the wife of thy bosom be despised because she showeth not the virtues of the widow? If thy father sink before thee in the divisions of thy country, can at once thy justice destroy him and thy duty save his life? If thou beholdest thy brother in the agonies of slow death, is it not mercy to put a period to his life? And is it not also death to be his murderer? Truth is but one, thy doubts are of thine own raising. He who made virtues what they are planted in thee a knowledge of their preeminence. Act as thy soul dictates to thee, and the end shall always be right. All right. And just looking at this, the main driver, okay, for weakness in man or woman is not controlling your desiring of things. That's how it's explained, for the most part. Um, just in mainstream society, this is all that's being pushed on us, right? Desire, whether it's sexual desire, it could just be always acquiring things, whether it's clothing, shoes, whatever. These things will never make you content. And then sometimes when you gain them, you realize you want more, you want something different. It's not good enough. And so that is explained as something that drives weakness in us, because if you can't control your own desire of things, you can't control your lower self, because it's the lower self is traveling the earth to and fro, seeking whom it may devour. It will just eat you up. In in our unrestrained desiring, we're not gaining happiness from getting different physical things, or whatever it is that we're desiring, this kind of out of control. Not gaining happiness from it. It doesn't matter how much you get of it that you think you want, it'll never be good enough, right? So it's ultimately leading to your demise, and leading to, on the way to your demise, leading to destruction, leading to misery, right? It's a weakness. But the prophet in this chapter doesn't just tell you, oh, this is what's wrong, that's what's wrong, this is what's holding you back. No, you're taught how to overcome the weakness. And there's three key things that's mentioned in here, right? So first, and this is like right in the beginning, first is to be content with what you have. That's the secret to overcome this weakness. Always, an uncontrollable desire. Right? Some people even say that I can't control my desires. Right? And what if your desire is for food? You love tasting it. Obviously, if you can't control that, we all know what the results of that's going to be. Being obese, having health problems. Right? So no matter what, if we can't control that, it's a weakness and it leads to misery and pain. It's going to destroy you. Right? And that's also why in our Quran, it says that the lower self is traveling the earth to and fro, seeking whom it may devour. Right? So you can't give in to this. And so now we're given a knowledge of this aspect. We know that there's a higher aspect of us, which is also why we had that Kabbalah tree of life diagram up. Right? We're in that 6th day. We're meeting here on the 6th day, symbolic of where we're at. We're on the 6th day. So it's of those higher realms and also of the lower realms. What's the lower realms? Well, the higher up you get, let's start at the top. When you're in the spirit plane, you're vibrating fast. Everything's vibrating fast, quicker. And we can't perceive it with our eyes, right? It would seem invisible to us, but it's real. And it has effects on the planes below it. And by default on the plane below that, the physical. So it has effect in the spirit, the soul plane, the soul realm, right? And that's also vibrating higher than where we're at right now. And then as things get more denser, vibrate a little slower, they become more dense, more physical, until you finally get into this realm that we're in, that that we perceive as the physical world. All right. And most of us are walking around unaware of all of this, and even unaware that we're twofold. There's a higher aspect of us and a lower aspect. The lower aspect is just tied to the body. It's a defense mechanism or a survival mechanism. It's in its proper place. It's here to assist you in your survival in this planet. Like our body, the physical body is not you. It may resemble you, but it's not the real you. It's like a spacesuit that you put on to experience a physical world, right? They say it's the third dimension. So to experience a physical third dimension world, you need a body. You need a flesh suit. You need a suit. And so this is what we have. But it's got smart technology. So the suit also has a consciousness that it developed, so that it looks out for its own needs, right? Eating, right? Other needs, other desires. Okay, and so what this chapter is telling us is that if we are not able to control these desires, right? The desiring of things constantly, we're not able to control that. We're under the lower self. It's a weakness, right? It will tear you down. And so the prophet gave us 3 things in here to overcome the weakness. One is being content with what you have. That's simple, right? Being content right where you're at. Always know that the best is yet to come. The best, you just be content. Be happy with what you have right now. Don't be happy when you get that house or you get that car, when you get this woman or whatever. Be happy right now. Because happiness always comes from within, not from the acquiring of things. And so if you have that, then you can restrain those desires. And then also to be moderate in the enjoyment of things. Right? So when it comes to food, for most of us, that seems like common sense. You know when to stop. But for some of us, it isn't. Right? And that obviously that leads to all types of problems and issues. Right? So be moderate in the enjoyment of things, right? Like, technically we shouldn't really be drinking anyway, but if you are drinking, Be moderate in it, right? Why go all the way to where you're throwing up, you know, where you're having a hangover. You wishing why you did it the next day when you're throwing up. You wishing why you went so far. Be moderate. Be virtuous in the acquiring and usage of things, right? Do it for a higher purpose. Um, like okay, for you're doing it for a higher purpose, right? You're not doing it for some seedy, you know, unnoble purpose. When you are acquiring things, when you're using things, or whatever it is, where you could be talking about people, you could be talking about friends, you could be talking about mates, anything. Be virtuous in the acquiring of these things. Islam, I see brother Cole Bay.
Islam.
Islam.
Rise give honor to great God Allah. Rise give honor to our prophet, Noble Jew Ali. I wanted to camel back on 17. The best things in the hands of a fool may be turned into its destruction, and out of the worst, the wise will find means of good. It was a quote that I've heard that said, if you give an ant a gram of gold, it wouldn't make it a rich ant, it would crush it. And that's how I look at it when it comes to our lower self. And in 17, when it comes to the fool, if you don't know what you're trying to do and you're going off of just your lower self and urges, it will lead to any type of destruction. So you got to kind of like sit back and ask yourself, hey, am I acting on my lower self or am I acting on my higher self? Islam, I yield this floor. I was just looking at that one on 17.
Islam, that's perfect. That's right there in alignment with, you know, what the prophet taught us, to overcome weakness, being virtuous in the acquiring and usage of things, right? So when, you know, when we have desires for things, yeah, like our brother said, we need to ask ourselves, is this coming from my higher self? Is this coming from my lower self? Right? And really all we need to ask is this coming from the lower self? Whatever it is that we're trying to acquire, where's this desire coming from? And we know the answer. It's not something that we ever need to ask anyone else. We know the answer. We don't even have to say it out loud. Okay, but just by asking that question, you're doing your part, because most of us aren't even asking this question as things come up in our lives, right? So as things come up, as we have desires, want to do this, if we're just asking ourselves, where is this coming from? All right. And then we're honest about the answer, because we always know the answer. Then that gives us the chance to make the right decision. And it's an internal thing. Nobody really knows if we're on our job, if we're doing it. It's not like it's something that we can do to show off, say, hey, look, I'm over here, I'm holy or whatever. Nah, it's not even like that. Right? This is an internal thing. This is for your personal development, because Allah is in you. Prove it. It's not like I can prove it to you. I could be over here living foul and just lying the whole time, and I'm not doing any good. I'm just fooling myself. So it's something that we all have to work on, and it's not like something we could hold up to show off about, right? It's just work that we all have to do internally. And you know, ultimately with these principles, we do this on a personal level that leads to personal success, but as a collective, since it's not just people here and there doing it, now we're the Moorish Science Temple of America. Now we have a community, right? We work together. So as we do this on a collective, as a group, and the community that we build will be built off of these principles, we're going to be successful. And there's nothing anyone else can do about it. They can hate, it is not even going to matter. All right. And we'll eventually be leading the way. Other people are going to be coming to us for advice. They're going to see us as the leaders. These are ones we need to go to. We need to ask them. We want to be like them. We want to be like those Moors. And then when you say that, if you ever say this, that your ancestors created civilization, they're gonna believe you. Whereas right now, they're like, okay, like anybody ever seen those memes that say we was Kangs? They're making fun of us, right? That's how people see it right now. Like, oh yeah, we was Kangs. Yeah, y'all trying to claim all this stuff, and they laughing, right? But if we like aren't even trying to show off and tell people how great we are and put other people down, we're just doing us quietly. Guess what? It's gonna show. Like if you're really great, you don't have to go around telling people how great you are, right? Just naturally, people will come to us, and the situation that we're in will be reversed. Okay, and so that's why the prophet said he gave us everything that we needed to save ourselves. Allegedly, he was holding up the Quran and the questionnaire, and maybe the divine constitution, three things, and he's like, now take it and save yourself. Okay, so on that note though, that's all that I wanted to share on that. If anybody else has anything that they want to share, whether it's on chapter 42 or anything else in general, feel free to unmute. I yield the floor. Islam. All right. Well, if you have some questions, go ahead and think about it. We're gonna go ahead and go into the closing of the meeting, and we'll open the floor before we close. Brother Cole Bay, would you please read the writ of the prophet?
Islam. Arise, give honors to our great God Allah. Rise, give honors to our prophet Noble Drew Ali. Rise, give honors to forerunner Marcus Messiah Garvey. Arise, give honors to all Muslims on the call and all Muslims on the planet. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, and on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their rewards from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali, and if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting the prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people for their sinful ways. Peace. Noble Drew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. This is instructions from your prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefather, divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is on now. But the weak can comprehend it not. The end of times is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Drew Ali. And that is why many hearts have turned to stone. Many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they will be confounded of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. To be proclaimed at every meeting, Islam. I am glad to know I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claimed that I was a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that pay their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finances so badly as I do at present, so I may shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through the jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will now recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Happy holiday, Moors.
Islamism. All right, gratitude, brother. Brother Thomas Bay, are you able to read the divine warning? All right, I don't know if that brother is able to hear. Brother Seymour Bay, would you be able to read the divine warning?
Islam, Sheikh.
Right, Islam.
First, I rise and give praise to the Most High, Father God Allah. I give honors to His Holy Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, and to the forerunner to the Prophet, our brother, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I give honors to our forefathers and mothers, and to all you faithful Muslims on the call. A divine warning by the Prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to the National Constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and principles that delude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to that state of mind, to their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine right as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish Divine National Movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under the free national constitution of the state's government and not under a granted privilege as has been the existing condition for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know law in the city hall and among the officials in your government and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply, for they're glad to see me bring you out of darkness into light. Money doesn't make the man. It is the free national standards and power that make the man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce, belong to the citizens alone. And without your national citizenship by name and principles, you have no true wealth. And I'm hereby calling on all true citizens that stand for a national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of the government. I'm depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America. I love my people, and I desire their unity and mine back to their own free national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. In all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro deludes in the Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word colored deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon this earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizen of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and the South in unit, placing the Southerners, who were at that time without power, with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was in force since 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. So there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and that is through the above statements. Then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come, because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people, and this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, diseases, etc. And I, the prophet, do herein believe that this administration of the government, being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws, and through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good, but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with a divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way, and without understanding, they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they have fought the Southerner for all these great misuses, but I have traveled in the South and I have examined the conditions there. And it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I am hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into marvelous light. From the prophet, Islam, Islam, Islamism. Happy Holy Day, Moors.
Islam and gratitude, brother. Before we close out, are there any questions? Okay. Additional laws for the Moorish Americans by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Act 1. Grand Sheik and governors and heads of all temples. All businesses, each said temple, must be approved by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali Before acting upon by any members, let it be finance, property, or any line of life that will cause the members to sacrifice finances, etc., that will cause the support of any group of members. Any former officer that violates these laws is subject to be removed from his office under a heavy restriction, etc., by the prophet or the Grand Sheikh. Act 2, all members are to attend their ADEP meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on their meeting period, shall be fined 50 cents on the first case, and on the second, he will be fined $1, which will go on your emergency fund. If member is working, his monthly dues must be paid, and if he has money in the bank, he must subscribe for as much as he is able to the Moorish Uplifting Fund, because it takes finance to uplift the nation. Act 3, it is the lawful and divine duty of every good member, if he is able in finance to excuse me, to aid me in the saving of the nation, and if he does not, he is an enemy to the cause of uplifting his own people, and justice must catch you. Let it be he or she, according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, as I have the power invested in my hands, and I will have to enforce the law in order to save the nation. Act 4, all members while up making a public speech must not use any assertion against the American flag or speak radical against the church or any member of any organized group, because we are to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Act 5, all members must promptly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school, and the teacher must conform himself to the questionnaire, and let every member exercise his 5 senses who is able to do so, because out from your Sunday school comes the guiders of the nation. Act 6, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live in the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7, all members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father God Allah. Right. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Please rise facing the east for the closing prayer. Right. You do not need to repeat after me. Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers, divine created principles. We ask this in our holy name in the 7 Elohim. Amen. Islam, Islam, Islamism. This meeting is now adjourned. Happy Holy Day, Morris.
Peace.
Islam. Happy Holy Day. Peace and love. Happy Holy Day.
Happy Holy Day.
Islam, happy holy day, Muslims. See you at Sunday school.
Islam, peace and love. Happy Holy Day.